Hello, welcome to Other Perspectives. I'm Nancy Kaplan. Tonight I am pleased to have with me LuAnne Bullington and Ethel Potts. They will examine possible significant changes to the Ann Arbor Transportation Authority and their potential impact on our community. LuAnne has been an active observer of the AATA for nearly 2 decades. She regularly attends board and committee meetings and interacts with board members to get answers to her questions. Ethel Potts was a prominent supporter of the AAT millage from the time of its proposal and the citywide vote. She is an active member of our community, serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and most recently completed her terms on the Planning Commission. This is the second program to focus on the AATA. The AAT Board is considering significant changes and county-wide expansion of the Transportation Authority. In February, Ted Annis gave his perspective on the benefits of a particular financial approach to going county-wide. Among the key ideas proposed by Mr. Annis are the following. A, end Ann Arbor's perpetual transportation millage of approximately 2 mills. B, instead have a county-wide millage of 1 mill, which combined with fares would have the effect of increasing revenue by $7 million. C, change from functioning under Michigan Act 55, established in 1974, in order to function better as a county-wide service. These changes, Mr. Annis believes, would improve efficiencies of the Transportation Authority while providing service to a larger audience. You can view the entire program with Mr. Annis at otherperspectivesannarbor.blogspot.com. LuAnne and Ethel saw the program and wanted an opportunity to give a counterpoint to some of Mr. Annis's proposals and assumptions. Welcome, Ethel and LuAnne.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Let's begin with a retrospective on the development of the AATA. Ethel, you were a supporter in 1974 at the time of the proposed millage, and you continue to support this millage. Can you take us back and tell us why this came to be?
Well, I think the city had always had some form of transportation, but it was mostly some private firm that had a few buses and ran up and down and did a little bit, but it's not a transportation system. We never really had one. And so I think a number of people who wanted us to become a functioning city felt we needed transportation. And so they put together this proposal, and I campaigned for it quite heavily, and I was very pleased that it passed. Ann Arbor is a big enough city, so we shouldn't depend on everybody walking, biking, driving their cars. We should have some other means of getting around, and we're big enough for that. And I think it's the only way to be a successful city is to have something like that to offer. And very much in our awareness, even those of us who might not be needing to use a bus, very much in our awareness was that there are many people who can't walk, bike, or drive a car. And we wanted something for them. They have to be able to move around too, go to work, just move around the city for whatever reason. And you know, older people, younger people, people with disabilities, they're our citizens too. And we were very conscious of that. In the campaigning for it, that was a prominent part of it, is that we wanted some equity among all of our people.
So the idea of having a system citywide, but then there is also this idea of having a perpetual millage. Most millages, you know, run for 5 years. The longest that we have now runs for 30 years. This is perpetual, and you were in favor of something that was perpetual at the time.
Oh yes.
Why? Why
well,
perpetual?
Because we'd had enough of, you know, hiring a bus firm, starting, stopping. You never knew what to count on from one year to the next. We felt it was as much a necessity as, say, the streets. We don't want them to be there 1 year and not another year. So we didn't see any way in which Ann Arbor would ever need to be without transportation, mass transit. So yes, perpetual was very much part of it.
And do you still feel, I gather, that it should be perpetual, even though the amount that the millage brings in is different than when it was originated, the cost of buses is different, and you still are in favor, I gather, of the continuation of a perpetual millage?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, it probably ought to go up because costs are more and the city's a little bigger and our population hasn't particularly gone up, but the need doesn't go down as far as I'm concerned. As a matter of fact, I think if I have a single problem or disappointment with the system, it's that there aren't enough buses. We don't have good headways. I'm used to big city, you know, wait for 10 or 15 minutes on the corner and a bus will come along. We've never been able to have enough routes. There are parts of town that are not served well, and we've never been able to have them frequent enough.
Okay. All right. And so, LuAnne, I think that you probably can address the cautionary tale about what happened in 1974 about the suit between the city and the AATA. You want to, that might be a cautionary tale for things that are to happen. Would you bring viewers up to date on that?
AATA and most transportation authorities within the city get their power through the city council. And if you go into small towns, it's actually the city council that handles the transportation system. But in big towns or cities and big authorities like Ann Arbor and Lansing, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, they form their own authority. And they invest those powers in that authority. In that lawsuit, the charter gave AATA 2.5 mils. And the city thought that they wanted part of that money for their own projects. So there was a lawsuit, and AATA won the lawsuit, and the city cannot repurpose, that's the new terminology right now, can't repurpose AATA's millage.
Okay.